What happens when the school's most feared bully chooses the quietest, shyest girl as his next target, only to unleash something so terrifying, so powerful, and so miraculous that his life changes forever? Stay with me till the end of this story, because the truth hidden behind this girl's silence will leave you speechless. And before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more stories that will touch your heart, shake your soul, and keep you on the edge of your seat. The cafeteria was buzzing like it always did at lunchtime, trays clattering, laughter echoing, groups forming their circles of friends. And in the middle of it all, sitting quietly at the farthest corner, was Emily, a girl so shy, so reserved, that most students forgot she even existed. Her long brown hair usually draped across her face like a curtain shielding her from the world, her hands always holding that same old notebook that she scribbled in whenever life felt too heavy. But on that day, something different was about to happen, something that would shatter the illusion of her quiet invisibility forever, because across the room walked Derek, the school's notorious bully, the tall, broad-shouldered boy whose fists and cruel smirk had silenced countless students, his name enough to strike fear in anyone who dared cross his path. And when his eyes locked on Emily, it wasn't random, no, it was intentional. Because the cruel thing about bullies is they smell weakness like sharks smell blood. And Derek had decided that day, for reasons no one understood, that Emily would be his entertainment. So with his posse trailing behind, chuckling at the mischief to come, he approached her table, the noise of the cafeteria slowly quieting as kids noticed the impending drama. And Derek sneered, snatching Emily's notebook from her trembling hands, waving it mockingly in the air as he taunted, "What do we have here? Little Miss Silent writing love poems to herself?" The crowd laughing nervously, some pitying, others afraid to intervene. But Emily's wide hazel eyes just stared at him, not with the fear he expected, but with a strange calmness that made him falter for a second, though he quickly masked it with bravado. Flipping open the notebook and reading aloud words that none of them understood were not mere poems but coded prayers, ancient scripts passed down in her family, verses her late grandmother had whispered to her every night before sleep, words Emily herself barely understood, yet felt connected to in ways beyond logic. And as Derek mocked her with each line, the air in the cafeteria began to shift almost imperceptibly, a heaviness settling in, the lights flickering, the laughter dying down as unease crept over the students. And then Derek made the mistake that would change everything. He pushed Emily, shoving her shoulder hard enough that her tray clattered to the floor, milk spilling, the sound echoing louder than it should have. And for the first time, Emily's eyes rose to meet his directly, her hair falling away to reveal a face streaked not with tears but with a strange glow, a shimmer that made Derek stumble back a step, though he didn't know why, his friends exchanging nervous glances, the crowd hushed as if the air itself was holding its breath. And then, within 10 seconds, everything shifted. Derek clutching his chest suddenly as though invisible hands gripped him, his knees buckling, gasping for air, his eyes wide with terror as Emily's lips moved in a whisper too soft for anyone to fully hear. But the vibration of her words seemed to ripple through the room, knocking over cups, rattling trays. And then Derek let out a strangled cry, collapsing to the ground, his body convulsing, not in pain but in revelation, as visions flooded his mind, visions of every cruel act he had ever committed, every tear he had caused, every broken soul left in his wake. And with those visions came an overwhelming flood of guilt, regret, sorrow so heavy it was unbearable. And for the first time in his life, Derek, the invincible bully, sobbed uncontrollably, clawing at the ground as if begging for forgiveness, his friends frozen in shock, teachers rushing in too late to stop the unstoppable force that had already been unleashed. And Emily simply stood, silent as ever, her glow fading as she gently retrieved her notebook from the ground, dusted it off, and walked past Derek without a word, leaving the entire cafeteria stunned in silence, whispers erupting only after she left the room. But the story didn't end there, because Derek was never the same again. That night he couldn't sleep, the visions continuing to haunt him, his dreams filled with the cries of those he hurt. And at dawn he found himself at Emily's doorstep, broken, humbled, begging not for mercy but for understanding. and Emily's mother welcomed him in with kindness instead of judgment, offering him tea, while Emily simply looked at him with those same calm eyes, no hatred, no vengeance, just silence that somehow spoke louder than any words. And in that silence, Derek found healing, realizing that Emily was no ordinary girl, that her shyness had been a cloak concealing a deeper gift, a miracle bound in human form. And from that day forward, Derek transformed, standing up for the weak he once tormented, becoming protector instead of predator. And though many doubted the change, it was undeniable because every time he looked into Emily's eyes, he was reminded of the power he had felt, the power that was not wrath but compassion weaponized, not violence but truth revealed, a miracle that came through the hands of a shy girl he had underestimated. And years later, when both stood on the graduation stage, Derek giving the speech no one thought he was capable of, he told the entire school that his greatest teacher was not found in books, not in classrooms, but in the courage of a quiet girl who taught him that silence can be louder than cruelty, that mercy can break chains stronger than fists, and that sometimes the weakest-looking soul is the strongest warrior of all. And as the crowd erupted in applause, Emily simply smiled, her notebook still in hand, knowing her grandmother's legacy had not only saved her but had changed the course of another's destiny. And though the world may never fully understand the mystery behind that day, one truth remained eternal. When the bully laid hands on the wrong shy girl, he unknowingly touched the edge of a miracle, and in just 10 seconds his life, and the lives of everyone who witnessed it, would never ever be the same again.